Hello everyone and welcome to a very special video. Today we're going to be doing my first ever scripted review. This review is based on my just finished playthrough of Pokemon Red that went out about an hour ago. If you've been watching along with the playthrough, I hope you enjoyed. And if you're just joining from my thoughts, welcome aboard. We're going to go over based on my experience. This video is going to be split up into 4 different sections: gameplay, story, the Pokemon, and the enjoyability. Each section will be rated out of 10 with a total of 40 available at the end. Now before we get started into this video, it took me a long time to make and a lot of effort was put in, so if you guys don't mind leaving a like and subscribing, as only 12% of my viewers are subscribed, it would mean the absolute world to me. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. As a longtime fan of Pokemon games, playing since Ruby and Emerald, my first games in the series, the gameplay of Pokemon Red is very basic compared to the later games in the series, in my personal opinion. The basic formula is that here you go catch Pokemon and compete against other trainers in the goal of completing the 8 gyms and then taking on the Pokemon League. I don't want to start off being super negative, but there are 2 major flaws in the gameplay that really stick out to me in Pokemon Red in particular. These features being the level gap near the end of the game and the difficulty at the start of the game that happens when you choose Charmander as your starter. The level gap near the end of the game is quite intense. This may have been heightened for me because I hadn't played Pokemon in a few years since Black and White 2 came out, before coming back and playing Pokemon Red. But even though I tackled many, if not most of the trainers that were available throughout the game, I often found myself barely breaking even with the levels of the later gym leaders coming up to Blaine. The League is where it turned into a real annoyance, as I was around 13 to 15 levels lower than the champions Pokemon, despite training as hard as I could on the available trainers. If I had not grinded up while off stream, I would have been around 20 levels lower than the champion. I feel like this could also be looked at as a positive for some people though, as the more hardcore players are constantly complaining about the lack of difficulty in later Pokemon games, and I feel like that difficulty is here when it comes to at least level differences. It really made me plan ahead and use viable strategies, such as really think about type advantages and strong moves and abusing the critical hit system in Pokemon Red. My second issue comes from players that choose Charmander. While I did not choose Charmander in my playthrough, this particular reason really affected my choice in not picking Charmander and choosing Bulbasaur over Charmander. The main issue with choosing Charmander is the first 2 gyms are super effective against Charmander, horrible start, and Charmander's weak against them of course, but there is no sort of compensation, especially for Brock, there is no sort of compensation Pokemon that you can catch in order to help you with them gyms. You either have to really grind your Charmander up or whatever else you're catching in order to overpower Brock, or you just don't pick a Charmander because there's no grass and water types. Like, I think there's a possibility of getting a Magikarp, maybe? I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but as far as I'm aware, there's no grass or water types before the Brock gym anyway. Misty might be a little bit different. I know Charmander's not able to sweep Misty, but there's probably, I think you can catch Bellsprout before Misty. But Brock in particular cannot be defeated easily if you pick Charmander. It is a nightmare to beat Brock with Fire-type Pokemon. And that just causes you to have to grind on a large scale just before you've even beaten the first gym. Now that we have the few negatives out of the way, let me talk about some of the more positive aspects of Red's gameplay that I enjoyed. The actual action of capturing Pokemon is very entertaining for me, especially with the fact that this was my first Kanto game, which kind of allowed me to, like, I didn't know all the Kanto Pokemon, I'm not gonna lie. I played Pokemon when I was younger, but I wasn't like a mega fan. I didn't know all the Kanto Pokemon, so I got to discover some new Pokemon, which really added to the gameplay as I was playing through it. There's also a few fun quirks, as I was talking about, the critical hit chances, which made my Venusaur practically critical hit 99% of the time. The fun little quirks and the new Pokemon really helped me enjoy the overall gameplay of Pokemon Red. It's an easily solid 7 out of 10, as it is quite impressive for the time, but there's definitely been improvements in present Pokemon games. Now with that, we'll move on to the story. This is the segment on the story, my Pokemon Red look back, and it starts off, I say, Pokemon has never been well known for its story aside from Black and White, which focused on story a bit more than the other games, you could say. The games are often more focused on the gameplay than telling an interesting, compelling story, and Red is no different. The actual plot of Red has little to no substance, as it is mostly very loosely connected string of events that happen throughout the game rather than an actual plot. I would argue that there's two main plot lines if you were to look at them, and that would be your rivalry with Blue and your battle between Team Rocket. I'm going to talk about each of these plots individually and then give my overall thoughts at the end. The Team Rocket plot. This plot begins when you meet a Team Rocket grunt and he asks you to join his evil gang. When you say no, which is the only option available, he will battle you. You then meet Team Rocket again at a spooky tower in Lavender Town. But you cannot reach these grunts as the ghosts in the tower cannot be seen or captured by the player at this point. The player then reaches Celadon City, which holds the Rocket Game Corner. This is where you meet the main antagonist of the game, the Pokemon Mafia boss Giovanni, who, while the rest of his team are incredibly comical, he himself is rather intimidating and can strike fear into you despite it all seeming really silly. When you beat Giovanni, Team Rocket kind of just leaves their gambling casino behind, like, really pointlessly, and also is really nice to just like drop the item that you need to let you deal with the grunts in the Lavender Tower and sort all that out. After this, Team Rocket then just kind of goes MIA until you stumble across them again. This time they're trying to take over an entire building in order to get the Master Ball, which is a Pokeball that never fails to catch. You then destroy Giovanni once again and he runs and the player receives the Master Ball. So Giovanni's just, again, you just kind of get good stuff for taking on Team Rocket. The player doesn't see Team Rocket again until they tackle the last gym, where it's revealed that Giovanni either was or still is the gym leader. Once you beat him once again, you get the final gym badge, and Giovanni just kind of decides to quit being evil, and you just never hear from him again. And that is the end of the Pokemon, the Team Rocket plot. The rival plotline is even simpler and mostly involves a very few major events aside from some large rival fights, such as the Silco rival fight, the company that Team Rocket was trying to take over, as I just talked about. The rival is always one step ahead of you, yet you are always better than him, which is an issue for me because you destroy the rival every time you fight him. Yet he always acts like he's better than you, right? Sure, he's one step ahead of you, but he never actually wins. If you progress through the game, he won't beat you, which bothers me because he still acts all cocky. This plotline comes to an end in the final battle of the game where you find out he is the Pokemon champion and you beat him and he finally recognizes that you're actually better than him. Don't get me wrong, I love Blue, but his character development is pretty shallow. He kind of only discovers at the end, whereas if he was a character more like Hop, where at the start he thinks he has a chance of being better than you, but then he gets depressed and then he kind of comes to his own resolve throughout the game, it probably would have been better. But then again, the game was made in 1996. I'm not expecting like fucking god level stories here. While both of these plots are simple, they are rather enjoyable and they don't take anything away from the game. But I also feel like if they weren't there, we wouldn't really be missing anything too important. And for that, I have to give the story portion of Pokemon Red a 5 out of 10, bringing us to a total of 12 out of 20 so far. Now on to the Pokemon. The Pokemon. We can finally talk about something that is truly great. And let me tell you, the Pokemon selection in Kanto, and more specifically Gen 1, is amazing, especially for the time that these games came out. Let me just list off some of my favorite designs in all of Pokemon, and you'll see that they are all from Kanto. The Bulbasaur entire line, Charmander's entire line, the legendary birds are some of the cool trio legendaries. Mewtwo is amazing. I fucking love Beedrill. Pidgey's line is one of the best looking bird lines, and Victory Bell. I love Victory Bell. And many more of my favorite Pokemon of all time come from Kanto. And this is where it all started. There are of course some issue with Pokemon designs, and of course there are, as it is the first outing of Pokemon as a series, there's of course some hits and some misses though. And Kanto is no different than any other region when there are some not great Pokemon. For example, I don't like the Dragonite line, I don't like the Squirtle line, and I do not like Mew as a Pokemon. Not a fan. These may be controversial opinions, but this section is a look back at my own opinion, and the next section as well is very opinionated compared to the rest of the review, the first two sections. I really like how, unlike the future games, you have to search for the legendaries. That's another good point in the Pokemon section. You have to search for the legendaries, which is great. And I find it cool that all three of the birds have their own unique dungeons, except for maybe Moltres. You could say that's not really his dungeon, but I still think it's a cool little, you know, it's cool. You get rewarded for exploring the game, and Mewtwo has its own little plot throughout the game where you start hearing about it on Blaine's Island. That's why Giovanni wants a Master Ball. It really cool stuff like that. And then it turns out that then you finally get to go through the massive dungeon and come face to face with Mewtwo in Cerulean Cave near the end of the game. It's really cool, and I really like that. The Pokemon in this game are really solid, and that gives it an 8 out of 10, which brings us to 20 out of 30 overall. Now on to the final section, which is enjoyability. First off, let me start this by saying Pokemon Red is an incredibly enjoyable game. I loved every second of it. From finding out where I had to find the legendaries to some of the fun side quests like the bicycle side quests, they are all great. The game really does not hold your hand, which is great compared to the future games. It doesn't tell you really where to go or what to do, aside from the fact that you're meant to be tackling the gyms and beating the league, which you can mostly do at your own pace, which is an enjoyable change compared to the later games in the series that are more linear and less full of little puzzles for you to solve. Overall, the game is incredibly entertaining and enjoyable to play, where whether you're catching or discovering new Pokemon or tackling some tough gym leaders or even enjoying how broken the game is, Pokemon Red is incredibly enjoyable and I love playing through it. Overall, I'd give it an 8 out of 10, landing Pokemon Red at a total of 28 out of 40, which is a very nice score overall. And now I'm going to go through some conclusion thoughts. The conclusion. The game is an amazing game. Pokemon Red is an amazing game that I would recommend you play at least once if you get the chance. I had a very enjoyable time completing it. If you want to watch me complete the game for the first time, it is available in the playlist link below. If you would like the video, please make sure to leave a like and comment below. Pokemon Gold will be coming probably this summer, so keep an eye out on the YouTube and my Twitch at Zach the Baptist. Check my Twitter for updates. Next Wednesday, we are starting The Witcher 1. If that entertains any of you guys, consider stopping by and watching along with me as I play through the game. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.
Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it